Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Punaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadidamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste. My name is Christopher Sartain, and I am a teacher in the lineage of the Kriya Yoga masters of Mahavatar Babaji, Lahiri Mahashaya, Sri Yukteswar, Paramahansa Yogananda, and my guru, Roy Eugene Davis. I was ordained a minister, teacher, representative of this tradition July 5th, 2012 at Center for Spiritual Awareness in the northeastern mountains of Georgia on Lake Raven. If you've never visited there, I definitely recommend attending a retreat at some point and becoming initiated into this Kriya Yoga tradition. I wanted to discuss today the Five Koshas, or sheaths, roughly translated from the Sanskrit. The Five Koshas are the layers of our being, or the sheaths that cover up our eternal soul, our jiva. These layers can be thought of as Russian dolls, or even the layers of an onion. As you peel it, you get closer and closer to the core, or the jiva, or the soul. And that's what we do in our yoga practice. We peel away the layers, the more external layers of our being, as we get closer and closer to that internal, layerless layer, so to say. Infinite consciousness, your true essence, your true nature, your eternal being. And through the practices of yoga, we are able to move through, balance, harmonize, and transcend each layer one at a time until we reach that infinite consciousness at the center of our being. The first layer is the Annamaya Kosha, roughly translated the food sheath. It's our body, our physical body, what we typically think of as the physical layer of our being. All of the koshas end in the word Maya, which roughly translated means illusion. The illusion of this reality that we find ourselves in currently. It's important not to get confused and believe that this isn't all real. It's better to conceptualize it as an illusion rather than something that isn't real or has no meaning or value. It has meaning, it has value. But it's an illusion because it's impermanent. It's not lasting, you see. This body will die. This mind will die with the body, for the most part. This personality will certainly die with the body. It's impermanent. It's not the highest reality. Therefore, it is an illusion. There is a part of our being that does not change, that is changeless and infinite, and continues on when the body is no longer functioning. So all of the koshas in the word Maya, because the layers of our being are all illusory. The only thing that is not illusory is our soul, infinite consciousness. The first layer is Annamaya kosha, the food sheath, our body. We transcend this layer, balance this layer, and transcend it through the practice of asana. And this is what a typical yoga class in certainly the Western world consists of, is mostly asana, the physical practice of yoga, which is an essential part of yoga, and not to be belittled just because it's the first step in the process. It's a very important, vital step in the process. Our body is an immaculate cosmic template for awakening, gifted to us from the divine. It's our primary purpose in the physical plane to maintain this temple of the soul, to make sure it's pure and clean and resonating at a very high vibration, so that we may process higher states of consciousness, so that we have the capacity to experience, elicit, and process higher states of consciousness and being. And so through the practice of asana, we can begin to balance, purify, transcend this physical layer, the Annamaya kosha. The next layer is the Pranamaya kosha. This is typically, prana means energy, so this is our energy body, typically translated as the astral body, or the energetic body, or the vital body. And we can move through and transcend this layer through the practice of pranayama, which is control of the life force energies through breath work, through pranayama. We can begin to balance, harmonize, and transcend the astral or energetic layer of our being. This is the layer of our being where we experience energies and often emotions. When you walk into a room, there's a very positive vibration and you just feel it. The part of you that's feeling it is your astral body. Likewise, if you walk into a situation where people have just been arguing, even if you weren't involved in the argument, even if you didn't hear it or sense it physically, when you walk into the room, you know when somebody's just had a fight or an altercation or an argument, there's a very negative vibe. The part of you that is experiencing that is your astral body, the Pranamaya kosha. So we balance it, we harmonize it through the practices of pranayama, and there are many different pranayamas. I'm rather partial to the pranayamas of the Kriya Yoga tradition. The Mahamudra, the Kriya Pranayama, and the Jyoti Mudra. Those are three Kriyas that we typically use in my tradition. The next layer, or the next kosha, is the Manamaya kosha. Manas in Sanskrit is mind. So this is our mental layer, or our mind. In order to transcend or move through or move past this layer, we use typically mantra. Or you can listen for the Om vibration or the inner light, which I tend to prefer. Certainly in the Kriya Yoga tradition, we use the Omkar Kriya. We merge our attention and awareness with the Om vibration or inner light. They're really the same. and that becomes a self-manifesting mantra for you. I find it to be more effortless than some of the other mantra techniques out there, such as transcendental meditation, or even tying the mantra to the breath, to the inhale and the exhale. At any rate, these are techniques that we use to transcend the Manamaya Kosha, or the mind, the mental layer of your being, to calm the mind so that we may move past it to deeper layers. The next layer is the Vijnanamaya Kosha, typically translated as the intellectual sheath, and sometimes translated as the ego sheath. I prefer the latter. The ego sheath is that part of you that believes that you are your name, your personality, this body, this temporary self, existing here in space-time. I am Chris. It's the identification, the misidentification with your temporary manifest self here on this plane. And sometimes it's the hardest or trickiest layer to transcend. We're programmed from birth almost to identify with this body, this personality, these thoughts, these desires, these emotions, these reactions, these personality characteristics, and so on. Of course, we are not that. They're impermanent, fleeting. Really the key to transcending all suffering is the end of this misidentification with the temporary self. If you continually identify with your temporary self, you will continue to suffer because you believe you are this thing that's suffering. You are not. You are that which witnesses the suffering. You are that which observes the entity that is suffering. That is your higher self, the witness, the observer. In order to move past the Vijnanamaya Kosha, we use meditation. To transcend that false sense of identity, we meditate. We lose all sense of identification with this temporary self. We may begin to identify with something much greater, something more permanent and lasting. The next sheath, or the last sheath, the final sheath, to be transcended is the bliss sheath. This sheath can be even trickier. There are countless numbers of yogis and meditators who hang out in this sheath forever and think they've reached the top of the mountain. It's very enticing, it's intoxicating. Bliss, ecstasy feels very good. Bliss is nice, but it certainly isn't the top of the mountain. It's not where you want to be. It's not really where you want to hang out. It can be quite addictive. You can get very attached to it. You want to move beyond this. So don't become too enticed by the intoxication of the Lord. It's nice, but you don't want to get stuck there. And so in order to transcend the bliss sheath, Ananda means bliss, the Anandamaya Kosha, we use samadhi, oneness consciousness. So meditation is a mostly thought-free state. You may go in and out of meditation. Samadhi, however, is a completely thought-free state, where attention and awareness is merged with your higher self, with the essence of your being, infinite consciousness. It's incredibly difficult to put into words, so I won't attempt to here. So to transcend the Annamaya kosha, we use asana. To transcend the Pranamaya kosha, we use pranayama. To transcend the Manamaya kosha, we actually use two things. We use pratyahara, which is the retirement of the senses, closing the eyes, being in a quiet place, and then mantra, breath awareness, or merging awareness and attention with the Om vibration. We then transcend or move past the Vijnanamaya kosha, just the ego sheath, with meditation. And then we transcend or move past the Anandamaya kosha with samadhi. Once in samadhi, we're outside the bounds of space and time, merged with our eternal core, pure awareness, pure existence being, infinite consciousness. So this is the promise of yoga. This is the process that we move through as we practice yoga, transcending one sheath at a time until we reach pure existence being. So I've written a book about the Five Koshas called The Sacred Science of Yoga and the Five Koshas. It's available on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and it's very short, just about 90 pages long. It's an easy, quick read and very basic. I use very simple language. So I recommend reading that if you'd like to learn more about the Five Koshas and that philosophy and that cosmology, which, by the way, comes from an Upanishad that is 1,000 years older even than the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. It's an ancient cosmology, one of the first mentions ever of the word yoga in any written text or scripture. And again, if you'd like to learn more about the Kriya Yoga lineage, you can certainly visit csa-davis.org or go visit the Center for Spiritual Awareness in Lakemont, Georgia. Let's Om together one time. Om.